Everyone, it's Elaine Hamilton. I would like to revisit the autobiography in 5 short chapters by Portia Nelson. It is a poem that I quote frequently. It's something that I find it a really lovely way to look at therapy, I guess, and how we learn. But I've also realized that I have been carrying a misconception around it. So I'm going to share it because it helped me recently and maybe it helps you too. So if you haven't seen the poem, it is down in the description section. But essentially, chapter 1, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in this same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3, I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are wide open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down another street. For years, I've been quoting that. I just find it such a beautiful summary of learning and how we learn. But what I wanted to talk about was one of the things that I noticed recently that I was still doing, even though I was like, oh, it's a great poem. I have also noticed that in between, there has been an assumption, or underlying, there's been an assumption that if I'm still falling down holes, I'm not I'm still not enough. I'm not learning enough. I'm not quick enough. I'm not seeing it enough. I'm in delusion. I'm pretending. I'm being the victim. I'm blah, blah, blah. So the self-criticism when I fall down a hole is still there, and it is not actually helped by the poem. And I still love the poem. I still think that everything about it is so true, especially when we're talking about the mechanics of the mind and patterns and how we fall into patterns and how we start with blame. And it really isn't until we can look at something and take responsibility for it that there's any hope for change, right? So from that viewpoint, I think it's a very important personal growth, step by step analogy, and I love it as an analogy. But I wanted to tell you something that happened recently to me. I decided in my innate wisdom to volunteer for a weekend teaching 35 rowdy Vietnamese kids English. And it was a volunteer job. It also happened to be in the middle of a heat wave. So it was 38 degrees and we were in the middle of nowhere and there was no aircon, very little fans, and it was miserable. I was miserable. And it was so overwhelming. The funniest thing was I was older than most of the kids' grandparents. Okay. So I'm trying to teach English to these kids, and I'm thinking, would their grandparents be doing this? Would they put themselves through? What the hell? So within the midst of this feeling very overwhelmed and miserable, and why did I do this? And how much longer? And oh my God, it's another day, and yada yada. I, of course, wasn't paying attention. I slipped and I hurt my ankle very badly to the point where I was just in no fit state to continue. So then I had to get a taxi home. And in the taxi home, I was so relieved. I was so relieved. And then I started chiding myself because I was basically thinking, okay, first of all, you made an insane decision. Why did you decide that it would be a good idea to volunteer in the middle of nowhere? Secondly, you twisted your ankle as a subconscious method of getting out of it, because you were overwhelmed, because your body was saying stop, like that, enough, enough, this is ridiculous. And then I was like, when am I going to learn? And this idea, tying it back to the poem, was when am I going to stop falling down these holes? When am I going to stop falling down these holes? And because the ankle was in a lot of pain, I had 5 days to think about it because I couldn't even walk on it. So I was hobbling around on a walking stick. It was bad. And so I sat and I reflected. The first thing I noticed was how enjoyable it was to have the excuse to not be running around doing anything. And already, I have to be frank, my life is pretty easy. Like it's not as if I'm rushing around doing 100 things anyway, but even the little bit of pressure I was putting on myself to at least go to the gym, go be social, go sightsee, go do something every day, this relaxation of all of that, because I literally couldn't get out the house, I noticed this immense relief and this immense joy of the only thing that's being asked of me is to sit, to relax, to reflect, to meditate, to journal, do whatever I want. And so, actually, when I look at the sequence of events, it was very fortuitous. Because actually, what happened in those 4 or 5 days where I was journaling and reflecting and meditating, I was landing a lot of dissolving. I wasn't even landing, actually. That's the wrong word. I was dissolving. So, one of the things that I noticed when I was talking to a friend about the poem, when am I going to learn? Ma, ma, ma. And I put down the phone and I thought, that is such a massive assumption that I shouldn't have been going down that road, that I shouldn't have volunteered, that I should have known better, that I shouldn't have allowed myself to get so overwhelmed because that meant that I hurt myself. There was so much assumption around this idea that I had assumed by reading the poem that when you're going down that road with the big hole, you're doing something wrong. That's wrong. You should have been going down the other road right from the beginning. Or if you fall down the hole, then the chapter 2 should be another road. But if you keep chapter 2, you fall in again, you're still blaming. Chapter 3, still blaming, still blaming, still blaming. Then something has gone wrong. Like you are not good enough. You're not doing it fast enough. You're not managing this properly. You're in denial. You're in victim mode. I mean, it was pretty interesting when you're sitting there with not really much to do and your mind is, when you are in the space where you can start to look at what are these stories that your mind is feeding you? What are the base assumptions? And my base assumption was that in this poem, the fact that she was going down the street, or the fact that I'm going down the street and I'm still doing crazy things like volunteering to teach English to 7-year-olds, meant that I was not learning something. I was still falling down these holes. And it really got me questioning the whole thing because, on the other hand, and I know this comes out my mouth as well, this is the really interesting thing, right? Is the amount of inconsistencies in our thinking, our language, our beliefs. So I also have a belief that you can't actually do anything wrong. And that's not a belief. That's more science. I'll make a video about that as well because I've been deep diving into quantum physics as well. And this idea that we can even make a mistake. So it's like you're operating on two levels. My mind is still thinking in black and white, right and wrong, yes and no. I'm in charge. I'm making decisions. I'm making wrong decisions. Whereas my spiritual life, my awareness knows that's not true, knows it's not true. Like you cannot make a mistake. Life is unfolding, and that unfolding is way out of your control. You are not in the driver's seat, you are a passenger, and your engagement with life is directly proportional to the amount of mind filtering you do. So if you're engaging with life with a lot of mind filtering, I'm doing this wrong, it shouldn't be like this, I'm resisting this person shouldn't say this, blah, blah. On top, your connection with the actual direct experience of life is filtered through many, many, many belief systems. So your ability to really immerse in life and to really enjoy it and to really see it is directly proportional to the amount of filters and belief systems you've got going on. And this is something from direct experience I've noticed in my own life is the more filtering I remove, the more connected and the more intimate life becomes because you're just in it. Like you're just immersed, you're totally immersed. There's much less chatter in the mind, observing, judging, deciding, righting, wronging, shoulding, shouldn'ts. A lot of that goes away, but there is still little catches. And so I think part of the spiritual journey, once you start to see, oh, my thoughts are just arbitrary things that I have been taught to believe, and you start stripping this down, does get more and more subtle. And it's ongoing because I literally just caught this myself a couple of days ago. And I was like, this is an inconsistency. But what I notice is that every time there's an inconsistency, I feel the stress in my body. And that's always been the case. And that's the case for all of us. When we feel a lot of stress in the body, we assume it's because we're doing the wrong thing. But it's usually we're thinking the wrong thing, not doing, because you can't do the wrong thing. That's the mind-blowing part. It is not possible to make a wrong mistake, to make a wrong choice, to make a decision, because ultimately you're not making the decisions anyway. The mind is not making decisions. That's again, a whole other video around decision making, which I will do soon. But essentially, it's the dropping into what is the assumption that I'm making that is at odds with the reality of life. And the reality of life is this flow, this ongoing flow. And even when we say we're not in flow or we're out of alignment or all of these things, it's not that we and our actions are out of alignment, because again, that's not possible, but our thinking around it is out of alignment. And that is what causes suffering and stress because we think we're not doing it right. Whereas if you thought, like if I went into this whole thing and really understood that my volunteering was 100% on point, how could it not be? My misery and my challenge and my overwhelm was also 100% on point, whatever that was. My twisting my ankle, my having to sit in my lounge for 4 days reflecting. I mean, the outcome of all this has been immeasurable. It's like the grasping that I was experiencing before that of you need to go out, you need to explore Hanoi, you need to go do something with your life, which I was kind of in the middle of all that stuff, evaporated. The whole thing has just literally evaporated. Now, of course, it's going to be replaced by something else. I'm very well aware of that because that's what my mind does. My particular blend of mind loves to chew over things and have the next thing to be reaching for and all this stuff. And I haven't got to the point in my spiritual growth where that has disappeared, but it has loosened so much. And every time I have an experience like this, there is always at the end of it this moment of, oh, that so needed to happen. That so needed to happen. And it's unfolding the next thing. And I will fall into holes as long as I'm falling into holes, but that doesn't mean that that hole is wrong. I think that for me is the biggest takeout because I had this assumption that if I'm falling down these holes again and again and again, that something's gone wrong or that I'm not good enough, I'm not spiritual enough, I'm not able to think this through enough. But it's really not. It's like every time you fall into the hole, something else comes to light. Even if the pattern is very, very familiar and similar and habit, you are still adding data to your experience. That's always happening. So some of us need to fall down the hole 100 times in order to stop doing it. Some of us fall down the hole for all of our lives, and there's no need to get out of it for whatever reason. And some of us fall down once, get the message, move down the next lane. But none of that is wrong. And I think that for me was the kind of light bulb moment. I was like, oh, actually, that is such a relief to know that I can't do anything wrong. And essentially, even the most challenging things that are going on in my life are perfectly set out for me. Perfectly. So there's not even a question around it. You don't even have to sit there and go, what is this lesson teaching me? I mean, maybe you think about it, but essentially it's more the dropping into every experience that is coming your way to juice the maximum out of it, to get the most intimate with it, to not let all the layers of should, shouldn't, this, that, the other, why am I, all that stuff, just clear that. Forget about trying to manipulate the direction of your life, where it's going, where it's heading, the goals, all that. If you focus on getting rid of the extraneous chatter, just that, it will clear so much noise, mental noise, and you will find yourself more and more and more engaged with life, which is what most of us are asking for, right? To be calmer, to be more connected, to be more quiet, to be more loving, compassionate. That's what we're all asking for. And all we have to do to achieve that is to stop criticizing ourselves and stop doubting ourselves and just alleviate that whole layer of nonsense. And then it just shows itself. Life just shows itself, unfolds for you, and you do nothing for it, really. So that was just an interesting thought for me. And I don't know, maybe when you look at the poem, you already saw that and you're just like, what's she talking about? But for me, it was definitely an insight. I was like, oh my God. I mean, I love this poem, but I've been reading it wrong. I've been reading it wrong. God damn it. Oh, I love being wrong. I love it because every time I kind of just see that insight, I'm like, ah, that's so juicy. And another layer just dissolves, just goes away, just disappears. And all this relief and joy and love comes up around the insight. It's like, ah, amazing. So hope you guys are well. Lots of love. More chatter on those other topics coming. Take care.